This is WFO Radio.
Hey, what's up, everybody? WFO. Joe Castello back with you, starting off another week, and we're getting closer and closer to the start of the season, and I am super excited. Hopefully you are as well. And we got some cool stuff going on this week. NHRA's Reinhart's going to be joining us just minutes from now, and we're going to delve into what he did this past weekend, what I did this past weekend, and some of the news. Obviously, the big Rahn Tobler retirement announcement coming out at the end of last week was it wasn't shocking by any means, but it's definitely a bit sad. We're going to delve into that. Of course, all the news stories. It's going to be great. I went bracket racing in Palm Beach this past weekend. I know Alan was out at a racetrack. We're going to talk about all of that. Some cool stuff. If you're a WFO Patreon, you know that you guys got some new swag coming your way. The WFO t-shirt, just a basic logo t-shirt for the Patreons, patreon.com/WFO Radio. Those guys getting a little swag and having a little fun. And I put together a video of my whole racing experience from the weekend. And I did it all myself. And so it's not that great. No, it's okay. It's amazing what you can do on one of these. Pretty shocking, in fact. We'll be dropping that on the website a little bit later on. So we'll let you know, watch all the social media feeds and be ready. But before we get into the news of the day with Alan Reinhart, we could look ahead to the Super Bowl. We got a couple of weeks to do that, of course. Of course, we got a couple of weeks to do that. But let's talk a little bit about the people who make it possible, literally, for WFO to continue as we do. And what has been really great is we've had some people reaching out that want to be involved in 2021 with WFO Radio. They realized, like, last year, we were right around, I'm counting up the numbers, 500,000 people who checked in on this show, watched the show, which I think that is an incredible number. And I'm super excited. Mom and pop store, baby, going up against like the big corporations, the likes of NBCSN. I'm kidding. If you didn't hear the Ignition show, you're not getting the joke. Ignition is in the archive, by the way. A lot of fun. Hey, Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. We got a new Hidden Horsepower podcast coming out. Go to TotalSeal.com to find out why you need to be using Total Seal in your engines. I've learned so much about ring seal and the importance of ring seal. It is going to be great. Our next guest on Hidden Horsepower is going to be John Callies, who is the head of Pontiac Motorsports during the mid-1980s, and he's got all the stories of back in the day, you know, when Butch Leal was the factory team with the rod shop and Snake and the Skoal Funny Car and all of that. Callie's going to be on the show. It is going to be great. And of course, Callie's Crankshaft and Morel Lifters. It's going to be very cool. But why do we go through the exercise? So you go to TotalSeal.com, and if you ever build an engine of any kind, you'll use Total Seal piston rings because of the incredible third-party validation that you're getting from all of these amazing people. Also, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, Dragster Adventure, man, go to frankhawley.com. They got so many dates. They're traveling the country. They're setting up for a great 21. Everybody wants to drive a dragster. After my weekend out at the racetrack in Palm Beach, I'd like to get back in a dragster again. I want to get back in a fast car. Drove my dad's GTO, set a personal low ET in the car, 1309. You'll see that in the video. But, you know, the bug, man, the bug, every time you go, you want to go again. You want to do a little bit better. You do a little better than the previous time, and you feel like, man, I could do this. That's what Frank Hawley is all about. Go to the website, frankhawley.com. If you're advanced, get your license. If you're really advanced, drive an alcohol funny car. If you're just a basic guy out there listening who wants the experience, the Dragster Adventure is for you. Great place to get started, frankhawley.com. Also, samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. We say start your education at full speed, but really it's just an entry point. It's education for the next level of engine builders, machinists, crew members, etc. You don't even have to be into cars necessarily. A lot of their people go into aerospace. But if you're a young person, I'm telling you, I have met so many through the whole Engine Performance Expo, and young people, 21, 22 years old, already know how to program and run Rottler machines, etc., and do it right. One young guy out there got into like a debate, a real debate about how fast to run the machine with Warren Johnson. And it was really fun to watch. And they both stood their ground, and it was cool. Go to samtech.edu, find out more information if that's a career that you're interested in. And we need you. Simple as that. We need to continue motorsports. We need to continue the machining trade. Fact. Also, Marvin Rodak, RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com, the hot sauce and the spice rub and everything good. And of course, I start my day every day with a little Rodax coffee and a little habanero endorphin booster hot sauce. And he's got the grills, and he was having a sale recently for the floor model, like the display models. And I don't know if I stress that enough, that if you're in the Fort Worth area, you can swing by Rodax and check out their displays, and they got all kinds of good stuff there right on location. But he was selling the display models of the barbecue grills, and they got outdoor kitchens from outrageous to regular. Check them out, 817-924-6821. That's Rodax. Of course, our friends at Nitro Fish, where you can get the original 10th anniversary WFO t-shirt. And if you just want a face covering, we can make that happen at WFOradio.com with WFO stickers. Send it. And I had someone, I'll tell you about that later. Let's just bring him on, man. He's the guy that I'm looking forward to seeing at the Gator Nationals not long from now, counting down the days. Mr. Alan Reinhart. What's up, AR? Look at this. WFO sponsor mentions all over the place, except you're out there. You're in Tucson, they're in Phoenix. That's relatively close, like hour and a half?
Yeah, something like that. I actually, I had never been through their facility before. The number of times that, spoke to Matt, and of course, Joey Moriarty before him. And it's like, hey, you got to come by sometime. And it's like, yeah, we'll do it next time. We'll do it next week. We'll do it next. And I just had never done it. Fascinated. I mean, fascinated. I guess I never really paid a whole lot of attention to what exactly goes into a piston ring. I know some of your hidden horsepower stuff you talk about, but being there and seeing, and it's like, it starts here and it goes here, and oh, well, okay, well, there we go. It's a piston ring, dude. Oh no, there's 4 more steps. And it was fascinating. And, also the stuff that they do, racing is just a part of what they do. It's a pretty substantial part, but there's a lot of other stuff. And, one of the things he gave me, there's going to be a Reinhart Reveals that will come out on NHRA's Facebook stuff about this, and this is nowhere near like the largest stuff, but people talk about doing a big bore engine. Okay. That's a top fuel piston. That's a piston ring.
Yeah.
Obviously not for a top fuel engine, but that's one of the products that they make. And they actually make stuff, he said, up to like 18-inch diameter for some big industrial compressor things that they do. But and again, I was just blown away. I mean, when we're walking around and say, oh, well, this and this, and it's, well, how many actual different parts do you make? And he said, we have 34,000 part numbers. And I went, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
But it's crazy. And, a lot of the stuff they do is it's proprietary. There was a couple of things that he's like, well, we do some, and I'd love to learn about that. Like, yeah, sorry, can't tell you. It's sworn to secrecy. But it's interesting. Anyway, I'll get into some of that more on my Reinhart Reveals thing that I'm going to hopefully get shot today, and then we'll see when Nikki can get the thing put together. But I had a weekend in Phoenix, and so I did a couple of manufacturer stops, Total Seal being one of them, and then PSI Supercharged being another. Was really, really interesting. Both stops, and then spent the weekend watching guys sling dirt.
Awesome. Very cool. One of our listeners, I wish, one of the things that I wish is that people that are in the Facebook group, they don't log in. We don't see who they are, but whoever it is, thank you very much. Just dropped some money with Total Seal about 30 minutes ago. Advertising money well spent. So there you go. They're getting a lot of love here at the start of the show. Well, they do a lot of different stuff. And, you and Brian talking about tractors, like if you've got a tractor, there's all kinds of stuff that, where am I going to get these rings? Matt doesn't necessarily love that, but Keith Jones loves that, right? And he brings in all the crazy stuff. Yeah, we'll try to do it. Like the challenge of helping people, and they use them in compressors and all. I think it is great. I'm glad you saw. I know when I was there, I was in and out in like, call it an hour and a half, right? So I saw a lot, but I didn't get to go totally in depth. I hope to go back again. But it is amazing.
Well, just so you know, they are getting ready. There was kind of in, not exactly like rearrange mode, but he's getting ready to put in a new line machine that'll help them, speed up their capacity and their turnaround time on some of the stuff. So by the time you get back out here, there'll probably be even more to see. But I was fascinated. I didn't realize that a piston ring basically starts off as a piece of wire.
Right.
And then gets wrapped, and then gets, whatever finish, whatever bevel, whatever, and, all the steps that they go through to make the stuff happen. And anyway, it was just it was fascinating. I really appreciate Matt who took the time to walk me through the place and show me around and the stuff. And they do all in house. It's like, okay, well, we needed to make a thing for the thing for a thing. Now, who does that for you? We do. Really? But they got quite a facility out there, and if you are in need of a ring seal, it doesn't even have to be a race motor. It could be an industrial thing, could be a compressor, could be in anything. But like you said, don't call Matt, call Keith.
Yes,
I got this wild idea, and I think they have a whole "Don't Tell Matt" section. It's a what's that? That's a DTM project. Don't tell Matt.
Right.
And but no, it's quite an operation they've got going there. Amazing what they do.
And some of that, which I'm sure you saw some of the, like top secret stuff that they're not allowed to talk about, but they maybe point to a picture on the wall or something and like, look at that. Nah, but they don't say anything because it's from like the motorsports world greater.
The other thing that I thought was just fascinating, I mean, and it's not a world I live in, okay, but I mean, okay, piston ring's a piston ring, right? It's round, it sits in a slot, it goes up and down in a cylinder, and okay, I get it. Maybe you got a little different piston ring if you got a nitrous car than if you got a nitro car, than if you got a turbo car, then okay. But I didn't realize that they do proprietary stuff. Like for instance, NASCAR. The ring that the Toyota guys use is not the same ring that the Chevy guys use, and the ring that the Hendrick guys use is not the same as the ECR guys use, and because the builders have their own, and it's all proprietary stuff. And that's like, a guy comes to me and says, "Can you do this? I want you to do it just for me." "Yes, sir." I said, "That's kind of cool. Can you show me the difference?" "No, sir." And again, because the integrity of the business is very important to him. He says, if a guy comes to me and says, "Hey, look, this is my idea, this is my design, this is my drawing, I want it exclusively for me," then that's what they're going to do for it. But I was fascinated to learn that there are a number of different piston rings that are in use in NASCAR. When
their engines are doing the same, right?
Yeah, engines are doing the same thing. You would think that there would be one that nope, not in this case. The different manufacturers have different proprietary stuff, and anyway, like I said, it was really interesting. I didn't mean to turn this all into a total seal for the next 4 hours.
But listen,
and he gave me a T-shirt.
Yes,
I don't hardly have any T-shirts. So Matt, thank you. If it wasn't for you, I would be sitting here bare chested today on the show. This is probably better.
I've never gotten a T-shirt. Just saying, not yet.
Matt doesn't like you.
Not I mean, if this is the metric, then it's very clear who he likes better. And it's a good T-shirt. Lake Speed comes on the podcast a lot, Junior, and he talks about this ring seal soup and all the different things. And like the NASCAR side, that they want the engine to make its max power at the conclusion of the 500-mile run, say, and all of that goes into it. And honestly, Alan, it's that area is over my head. I'm learning a lot. It is fascinating, to say the least. It is fascinating. Yeah. All right, so we got to talk about our weekends. There it is. Watch out, man. We don't want to have to call 911 to help you get out of there. We got people weighing in out there on the social, saying what's up, like Michael Heiner is out there. What's up, Mike? Crew chief, of course, for the American Ethanol team. Hopefully they'll be out there.
When are you coming testing in Tucson?
Yeah, when are you guys coming to test in Tucson? So you can let them know.
It's snowing today.
Is it really snowing, or are you just saying that?
Well, it's not like snowing like you could have a snowball fight, but it's kind of spitting rain and it's cold. And earlier you look outside, you could definitely see some white flakes falling. I can tell you this: the mountains that surround us are covered in white. But getting enough, we're not going to get like any accumulation you can do here. But it's not. This is not a day that you want to be in Tucson testing. However, there will be some of those coming up soon, and I need to know when they're going to be here.
Excellent. I like the idea. One of my listeners is mentioning Kev, and you'll all see it in the video. I went bracket racing this past weekend. I had a historic first, Alan, a historic first.
Right on.
I lost to an electric car for the historic first time ever in my life. Have you ever lost to an electric car yet?
I've never raced an electric car, so
exactly. You haven't even had the first. I've had two historic firsts. Yeah. 1140.
You know what?
Dialed 1140, Alan.
I don't see any shame in that whatsoever, because
it's just a joke.
It's a car. And you know what? I actually applaud the guy that had the electric car out at the drag strip.
Yes.
Because, and a discussion that I had with people over the years, when the import thing was such a big deal, and the NHRA was very involved with that. There were a lot of import drags. There was a lot of stuff too. Everybody, that's not a real car. Those things, those little stupid 4-cylinder motors with those little, those guys aren't really racers. Yes, they are. They are taking what they have. They are trying to make it as fast as they can, and they are racing. And I don't care if it's electric. I don't care if it's an import. I don't care if it's a hybrid. I don't care if a guy's taking it to the racetrack to compete, then he's a hot rodder in my book, no matter what it is. So bring it, all of it. Bring it.
On that note, and I've got a video. It's my whole day at the track. It's gonna be kind of cool. But just on that note, this guy drove in with his family in the car, like the wife and another couple and a baby seat in the back, and pulls through the gate. Goes down the track, puts 1147 is the dial-in on the car. How much effort did you put in to running in the 11s back in the day? And then he drove home. He made the semis. To run in the 11s back in the day was a big effort. I remember a lot of work going into our car to go into the 12s. So I can go buy a car that's like a family car that I can cruise around and go bracket race. And oh, by the way, the weather is not even a factor. That's pretty stunning to me. Ban the Tesla. No, I'm kidding, but pretty stunning.
But technology is a beautiful thing. That's when you look at what's coming out right now. And, I don't care which manufacturer you want to talk about. If you want to talk about the Demon, if you want to talk about the GT500, or if you want to talk about, the SS and the Copo Camaros, 700 horsepower with electric windows and with 800 with Demon. But it's just amazing, the technology that's there. My car, the one that you see behind me right now, had the Hypo 289 in it. That was 271 horsepower, and that was like holy crap power back then. In 1967, unless you bought a Shelby, in 1967, the highest horsepower motor you could buy in a Mustang was 330 horsepower.
Yeah.
In 2021, the V6 car has over 300 horsepower. And, it gets 30 miles to gallon and everything else. Technology is a beautiful thing. But if a guy's going to buy that car and he's going to bring it out to the racetrack and he's going to compete, I think now, I got to tell you, Joe, did they take the child seat out? Because if you got beat by a car that had a child seat in it, that's embarrassing.
I don't know, man. I think I'm going to have to go back and check the video. I think the windows were tinted in the back, and that will remain a mystery forever. But I will double check. People can look for that in the video. So that's what I did, and I'll release the video. What about you? Before we get to the news, I want to spend some time talking about Tobler and some of the things. Getting some questions coming in about J.R. Gray driving Mike Janis's car in Pro Mod. People getting in, a lot of news stories. Got a new big show funny car driver coming out. But tell me where you were, like the track you go to.
Hear me?
Now I can again, but you're no longer with your Bluetooth. Now you're going through the phone's deal. Let's see. Oh, there he goes. Alan Reinhart. So, yeah, it was a Tesla, for those who are asking. It was a Tesla Model 3 dual motor. And, what does all that mean? But the guy was bracket racing it, and was good for him. I did not have a great day. I did have a fun time. I did not have a great day. But I'll get better. That's it. Every time I go to the track, I get better. I feel like the Tin Man when they oil him up, right? I'm like, you can start to feel it loosening up. All right, here he is. AR is back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. I'm sorry. This thing, if I ever meet, Mr. Samsung, I think the first thing I'm going to do is stomp on his toes. And then once I've got his attention, I'm going to ask him what the problem is with his phone.
But you're not.
This thing is on Do Not Disturb. I went and triple checked everything. I had one of your listeners actually send me a checklist. Do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. But yet, when somebody calls, my earbuds tell me I have an incoming call, and it just disconnects the audio. It doesn't disconnect the video, it disconnects the audio. So, if I ever meet Mr. Samsung, heads up, Mr. Samsung, you better have steel-toed boots on, because I'm going to get your attention first by stomping on your foot, and then I'm going to ask you, what the heck's wrong with your phone?
Exactly.
buy an iPhone. I'm not an iPhone guy. I'm just not that guy. So anyway.
What is that? I'm not an iPhone guy. I'm just not that guy. Like, I think people want to know about that. Like, what is that? What do you mean? We already said the product that you're into is like bothering you. And there's another product, and it's American product, Apple.
But what, do I have to change everything?
I mean, yes, you have to change everything.
And I don't want to do that. You know what? It was annoying enough having to learn how to do all this stuff once. I don't want to have to unlearn and relearn. So,
yeah. All right. Well, people, I think this is not the kind of thing that happens overnight, like deprogramming you from Android. I think it happens to happen over a long period of time. But anyway, all right. So what track did you go to, and who was there that you watched?
I actually went to Arizona Speedway, which is a 3/8 mile dirt oval just outside of Phoenix. It's in Queen Creek or in Apache Junction, kind of depending on who you ask. But I got threatened. I mean, it wasn't really invited. It was more threatened. You know, Gary Selzy and I go way back, and we have, you know, kept in touch and remained friendly, and you know, still you know, follow each other along, and you know, keep, like I said, kept in touch and over the years, even though he hasn't been involved in the drag racing for a long time. But his two sons are both involved in racing. You know, sprint car racing, midget racing. Gio's actually done some ARCA stuff, but they were at the Chili Bowl and were busting on me pretty hard about not being at the Chili Bowl this year, because this year I just didn't go. So when Gary was coming here, both of his boys were racing in the, it was the Wild West Shootout. And it was I think it was kind of a crossover. I mean, they had some of the Outlaw guys, some of the West Coast guys, some of those. So I don't know, you know, I don't know whose necessarily series it was, but the Selzy boys were both going to be there. So Gary basically threatened me. He said, "We're going to be in your state. You're going to, you know, you are coming up here, period." And I, all right. Well, then, you know, didn't realize, but Tony Stewart was there. With both of his cars. Donnie Schatz was there. Sammy Swindell was there. Rico Abreu was there. So it was a pretty big deal sprint car race, and it was fun. It was nice spending a couple of days watching Fling Dirt around. I tell you something, those Selzy boys can both drive. Dominic actually won a heat race every night. His best main event finish, he finished second Sunday night behind Tony Stewart, which I don't think there's a whole lot of shame in that. And Tony didn't have a bad weekend either. He ended up setting the track record, and as they win in the third night. But the way the event was set up, it was three separate races. You actually crowned a champion Friday night, crowned one Saturday night, crowned one Sunday night, and they put on a great show. One of the things that was really impressive was, and part of it was because they had, you know, some threats of weather and some other things, but they really kept the thing moving along. Saturday night, we were out of there by 7 o'clock. And their deal was like, "Hey, look, we came to race. We're going to race. Let's go." Not a whole lot of pomp and circumstances. Put the next set of cars on the track and let's go. But those guys put on a heck of a show, and it was fun to go up there and watch, and it was fun to kind of go see how the other half lives.
Very exciting. Yeah, no, fun. So Tony drove himself. Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah. He won.
That's great. That's great. You know, we read a story on Ignition last week, and about the, you know, the Eldora dirt track situation. He's in a little bit of I'll say a feud. It's not a feud, but he was perturbed by some things. The thing that in that story, if you read it, and I think it was Jenna Fryer who put it out, that was you know, Tony Stewart related, was that he was interested in racing in the Busch Clash road race at Daytona, and inquired with NASCAR and didn't get a call back.
Yeah, I don't know, and I'm certainly not going to get in the middle of that. You know, Tony and I know each other relatively well, I think, and when we had dinner at the Vegas race before the World Finals last year, when he was out there with Leah, and he was telling me then about you know, the Bristol Eldora thing, and said basically that, you know, he wasn't his management group. He said they weren't planning on doing the Eldora. You know, they loved the fact that they had the trucks there. They loved the fact that they had something that was special. It was the only one. He said, if they're going to go put dirt on Bristol, he said, then, you know, I'll just let them do it. And so I don't know if feud is the right word. I think they just have a communication issue right now. But yeah, it sucks that he wouldn't be down there to at least be on the road course for the dash. That would be cool.
Any chance you get Tony Stewart in a car is a good opportunity, especially now, as he's, you know, he's an icon of our sport, motorsport in general. You get a chance to get out there and watch him at any level would be great. All right, some people weighing in. Dave says he's down here in Miami picking up a B707, staying at the Hilton Blue Lagoon. So I guess that's a plane. That's kind of cool. Jaron, who was bracket racing the triple tens in Orlando this past weekend, he says he's droid for life as well. Spence wants to know if Dom or Gio have ever driven a drag car, and I don't think they were old enough. They were little boys, right? Back when Gary was actually driving. Who knows what they've done like on the sides, but these kids were raised sprint cars. These guys have been driving the sprint cars since the midget car days, since they were young.
Well, Gio's 19. Dominic, I think, is 23. So yeah, they were
still young.
but they were, when Dominic was born, when Gary was driving the Winston car. And so, by the time, there's some pictures of them in the winter circle with him when they are like the little kids. But no, they never went the drag racing route. They got involved with go-karts when, up in the area where they are, there's pretty substantial go-kart community up there, and they kind of got involved, started racing go-karts and have taken that route now. So, but Gio's a rising star, and Dominic, that, like I said, he's got plenty of talent. Dominic is a riot. I don't know, he's one of the heat races when he won. The interviewer went over and said, hey, you did a nice deal with that. And he goes, yeah, well, it shook a little bit coming off the line. We had an okay 60 foot. I had to pedal it to get through the trouble zone, and everybody in the stand is kind of like smirking. And he just like notoriously pulls stuff out. It's like, I want to thank MSD for that magic box, because I don't think we could have won it without that. And anyway, he's a really, really outgoing guy, and definitely got all of his dad's personality, and certainly has got the driving skill to go along with it. So it'll be fun to watch and see where those two boys end up over the course of the next few years.
Going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, here's Selzy grew up running micro sprints and what is that, Visalia, California, Plaza Park. I love the idea that having someone to root for, right? Like even the connection to drag racing. Like these are the Selzy boys. Well, gosh, man, of course I'm going to root for those guys as they go out there and have great careers, and hopefully they will. And last year we had that Beer with Selzy show. Maybe we'll get one of those again this year and get an update from Gary. All right, speaking of drag racing legends, let's talk about the news from the end of last week. Of course, everything happens right after we go off the air. Are they off the air? Yes, they're off the air. Okay, all right, release the news. That happened a couple times. The Rahn Tobler story, though, Rahn Tobler going to retire. It's not a surprise to me. I know he was getting close, but when it happens, it just causes deep reflection on the man's career. And the 4 championships, and separated by 36 years, the 2 championships. Cap's going to have new crew chiefs. They're going to announce that soon. But just speak on Rahn Tobler a little bit. He's one of the guys I've gotten to know pretty well out there, and I really feel like he's one of the soulful centers of the pit area. There's people like one of the wise elders of the pit area. Like if the pit is a civilization, then Rahn Tobler is one of the leaders, one of the elders. The young ones come to him and they learn from him. What about you? What do you think about Rahn and this announcement?
I was a little bit surprised at the announcement as well, because as we've talked enough that that he wasn't planning on doing this for another 10 years, but I didn't realize that he was hanging it up right now. But you know what? He's had a terrific career, and if he decided that he's had enough, then good on him. And hopefully he and Ellen can live happily ever after, as it were. But now Rahn is a really, really bright guy, and Rahn is a guy, I put him kind of in the Dick LaHaye type, and in that he is very methodical. He absolutely hates blowing stuff up, hates it. If his car comes back damaged, he's really annoyed at that. And he's not a trick of the week guy. He's not going to get, but he is going to go down the racetrack. He's going to have a good, solid car. He's going to put a very safe car on the track, and you're going to have to beat him, because he ain't giving away many rounds. There's some of the guys that will go out and swing for the fence, so to speak, and occasionally they'll give one up just because they're so aggressive in with what they're doing. But that wasn't Rahn. Rahn was a guy who was certainly going to take good care of your budget. He was going to take good care of your equipment. He was going to take good care of your driver, and you were going to have to beat it. He didn't give very many away. He was also a guy that over the years was very open with me, and I always appreciated that. Coming from a mechanical background, but nitro cars are just so different from anything else in the world that, an opportunity to go sit down and go, hey, Ron, can you explain this to me or tell me what I saw or tell me what the deal was? And he was always very open and very straightforward. So I'm certainly going to miss that connection. And of course, everybody in the pits is going to miss wine night, right? That has become such a tradition, and it's kind of an insider thing, but probably the last, 5 years, 8 years. Ron Tobler is a guy who enjoys a glass of wine at the end of the day. And so, on Saturday night when qualifying was over, it was not uncommon for him to just kind of, relax and have a glass of wine. And then people would stop by and, hey, what do you think of this? Or congratulations on that, and share a glass of wine. And it turned into a real happening, for the insiders. It certainly wasn't something that was necessarily open to, the spectators, but there were more than a few over the years. Well, hey, when you go to this race, you're going to see XYZ spectators always come to this race. And there were more than a few over the years that kind of got welcomed into that circle. But I don't know if anybody's going to take that over or not. But it was that's certainly the Saturday night social hour, and it wasn't everybody's going to be leaving falling down the stairs. It was like stop, enjoy a glass of wine, chit chat with everybody, and then let's go home and get some rest because tomorrow we got to go to race. But that's it certainly will. It will be a different pit area without Ron out there. And even though he's not going to be there for guys, to necessarily go, tug on his shirt sleeve and ask him a question, I have a feeling his phone will probably ring from time to time. Somebody, hey, Ron, got a minute? I just, can you help me, talk me through this dilemma that I'm having right now? I think we're going to see some of that. But, as I said, I hope that, he and Ellen have got everything all situated and figured out, and that they enjoy their retirement, because they certainly aren't.
Absolutely. And they will. And Ron, he's got many interests in addition to drag racing, and he will have a great time. But you're right. I immediately thought about, oh no, what's going to happen to wine night? And had anybody thought to sell spectator tickets to wine night, I think we could have made a killing. It's just like, wow, what a day. But so many personalities passed through. You described it very well. Just, you wouldn't think that, like Don Schumacher and John Force and the polar opposites and Coletta and the rivalries, and like after final qualifying is over, that goes away, and it's just relationships and friendships. And that was something that was really nice to see. I've spoken with Tobler. I've texted with Tobler. He has agreed to come on WFO for one final glass of wine. So we'll do that at some point this week, later on this week, Thursday. Doug Coletta, by the way, the big Mac Tools announcement. Mac Tools going to come back with Doug Coletta Motorsports. That's going to be great. Thursday, 4 o'clock. And then tomorrow, Megan Meyer-Linger is going to be on the show. Going to talk with Megan about her championship and what's going on. She's got big news, of course, just to get everybody up to speed on the remainder of the week on WFO. I don't know if Tobe's going to be this week, but he will be very soon. Yeah, kind of sad, but just like, one story ends, another story begins. We got a new big show car going to come out, a new funny car team, and it's up on the front page of NHRA.com. Tony Gerardo, I guess he ran Nostalgia, and him and Jason Bunker, who has done some tuning out there. They're going to run some races, and that's the thing. Like, there's always people, they want to run nitro. They want to get involved in this. They want to try to make it at the highest level.
Yeah. And, welcome. I think that, there's, a couple others that we may see come out there as well. Jason Rupert is, I do believe, finished up his licensing procedure and done all that. So I'm not sure when or where he's planning to debut, but I think that we're going to see him in a big show car here as well. And did we talk about Wild Horse Pass last week? I figured that would be on the hit list.
We did talk about Wild Horse Pass, but we can talk about it again because someone has actually asked the question, and that's always the case. Like, we'll talk about something and then someone will sign on and ask the question, but I'm sure you've got new and updated information. We know that the national event is off the schedule, but there were some other things going on. What's the latest, greatest in your area?
Well, there was a post that went blasting around about a proposed redevelopment of the area out there. And, in the proposed redevelopment, there is no racetrack. There is no Bondurant School. There is no Firebird Lake. It looks like that they were just going to take the property, and that kind of set the internet ablaze with it. Okay, that's it. Forget it. They plowed it under. It's all gone, which isn't true. Is something going to happen in the future? Yeah, probably. But it's a 10-year plan, if I'm not mistaken, that they announced. And then a couple of days after that announcement came out, and you shouldn't have any problem finding it if you want to Google it, on the Wild Horse Pass Raceway Facebook page, they came out and said, "Hey guys, time out. Don't be writing us off just yet. What you saw was a proposal. It's not, it is not being put in play yet. It is not, nothing has started yet. There are things that they're looking at. There may be another proposal that comes down before. In the meantime, we plan to continue racing as much as we possibly can and doing what we can. Obviously, you got to deal with whatever the local government COVID restrictions are at any given time. But they were pretty adamant about the fact that, hey, look, we're not going anywhere. Certainly not yet. So I think some of that remains to be seen. It's a fascinating thing, what the internet has become, right? Somebody comes up and blasts us out and goes, okay, we've got this proposed redevelopment for the Wild Horse Pass property. And in 10 minutes, people from coast to coast are going, that's it, no more racing. The race, and guys, it's a proposal. Guess what? I've got a proposal to build parts for Elon Musk and make $1 billion.
Yes.
It's a proposal. I haven't started buying my $1 billion worth of toys yet because my proposal hasn't come through. By the way, Elon, if you want to.
He makes fast cars, apparently. Cars are pretty fast, apparently.
Who knows what the future holds? And, the one thing that I think about is, for how many years did we go to Englishtown? And every year it was like, this is it. I'm not going to, it's officially that. And finally, yes, something did happen. The drag race track ceased to be in existence, but the property's still there. Raceway Park is still there. So, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know, what the timetable is, but I expect us to have some more pretty good memories from Wild Horse Pass. At least I'm sure hoping so.
Me too. And I brought up this story and I see a map. I encourage everybody to go and have a look. Yeah, it's one of these opportunity zones. And so they're going to try to do some things in there. But I like to think that motorsports is going to continue to be a business where there is a lot of opportunity. And so who knows what will happen. But it does make you think, like that notwithstanding, we got Atlanta Dragway, we've got all kinds of stuff. The NASCAR guys just saw one of their old school tracks in North Carolina get torn up. They had to feel the same emotions we felt when we saw the shovel taking down the walls at E-Town. And it is just something so sad and terrible that within this community, like I'm not talking about you or me, Alan, because we just don't have the horsepower to do it, but people need to build some new tracks. We need to build some tracks in some places. Like if racing, which is if it's not $1 billion industry, it's got to be hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars wrapped into this thing. Like you just can't have the Indy 500, the Daytona 500 and the US Nationals. Like you have to have grassroots racing. We need to have some facilities out there. And if they have to be out in different areas or I don't know what exactly, but we can't lose all our tracks. And so maybe some emphasis should be put on that by the secret people who run the sport. I'm making that part up, but to propose to build some new facilities in places.
I personally think that racing is going to take place until the day where there's only one car left. Because
Right.
If there's two cars, there's going to be a race. And, things change, times change. I remember when Wild Horse opened, it was a long way out of town, kind of like the old Tucson Dragway, the one that closed here in 1985. It was a long way out of town when it opened. Well, then 30 years later, things have changed.
Right.
And, sometimes you just got to, I think there are a lot of the stadiums that, are still going to remain. Gainesville, I don't see relocating. But I could see in some instances where, a track is getting kind of enveloped by the city, maybe it's just time. If that land has become so valuable, maybe it's just time to move 30 more miles out of town and build the next one. No sports stadium is going to last forever. And when you look at, some of the tracks that are out there that have had, massive improvements over the years, you mentioned Atlanta Dragway, and this is certainly going back a while, but Atlanta was there for a long time. And then it went through a massive renovation, early 90s, I believe. When they built the crossover tower, when they added a lot of asphalt in the pit area, when they did a lot of stuff. Well, that's 30 years ago. So, if somebody can buy that and keep it a racetrack, then man, I'm all for it. I am 100% for it. But if it has come to the point where, okay, it's time to move a little further out, to get out of town, to buy yourself another 20 or 25 years before you're going to have to start dealing with noise problems and issues like that, then maybe it's just time. But I think that, you don't have to scour the internet very hard to find stories about street racing being a problem in a lot of neighborhoods. And the reason that street racing is a problem anywhere is because they don't have someplace else to go. When street racing here in Tucson was becoming a problem a couple of years ago, the guys at the racetrack here reached out. They did it through social media. They did it through news media. I mean, they were on all the stations in the newspaper and said, hey guys, we've got a racetrack. Come out here and let's see tell us what you want. We'll make it happen. There's now a huge racing fraternity out at Tucson Dragway. Some of them are going to turn in, some of them have turned in. They come out, they do their bracket racing, they do their normal stuff. Some of the guys only come out on no time night. One of the big programs that they've done here, they've got a program called Beyond 1320, where they race in the shutdown area because they want street racing. They want no prep racing. We don't want concrete. We don't want sticky. We want it to be as close as it can to if we were just out on a back road someplace. So they go race in the shutdown area. And the racetrack has done what they needed to do to accommodate. It has made them a better friend of the community. It has made them a better friend of the law enforcement community because they're here, right? You guys want to race? That's fine. We've got a place. Come out and race. And, I think that you look at, St. Louis, when Worldwide Technology Raceway was closed down, during the COVID thing, and all of a sudden St. Louis is having a huge street racing problem. Well, they didn't really have a huge street racing problem. I'm not saying there wasn't any, but they didn't have a huge street racing problem when the racetrack was open.
Right.
Can nobody see a correlation here?
Why?
These guys, gals, people want to race their cars, and they're going to. So let's make sure that they have a safe environment, a place where they can go, where you're not going to have to worry about spectators. You're not going to have to worry about people running across the street. You're not going to worry about somebody pulling out in front of you during the race. Let's find a place where they can go fulfill their need for speed. And that was really the birth of NHRA 70 years ago. It's like, let's make this. Let's put it in a controlled atmosphere. Let's make it as safe as we possibly can. Let's introduce some rules so that, we've got cars that are as safe as they can possibly be when they're coming out here to do this. And let's turn it into, more of a sport. I mean, I street raced when I was a kid. I'm sure you did some of that as well. But there's a big difference between going out on a back road and having somebody going, okay, go.
Yeah.
And, I beat him by a fender. Yeah, okay. But then once I went to the racetrack and went, wait a minute, I actually went faster than I went last week. That work I did paid off. And that kind of sucked me into being an NHRA racer, being a guy who wants to go to the track, who wants to. Now, there are some people that aren't interested. There are always going to be people that just want to look. I just want to beat you by a fender, and that's fine. But there needs to be a place for them too. And, a sanctioned drag strip is the place to do that. So, we can't just let them all go because
no,
people with cars need a place to race. And track owners and operators want to be that place.
It just makes sense. And we're living that experience here in South Florida. And I can tell you that it was very damaging. Don't get me wrong. We've grown, like our area has grown like gangbusters since 1992 when our track closed, right? Miami Hollywood Speedway, you've heard me talk about it. The tree in the background is from it. But I can remember one of our big engine shops, heads by Rick Rapp, who now has his shop right outside of Las Vegas Motor Speedway. He moved his whole family, his whole business. No track. I'm an engine builder. Got to go. Chassis builders. A lot of friends, they up and left. They move. A lot of people who live down here in South Florida moved up to West Palm Beach to be close to Moroso Motorsports Park, PBIR. Well, we have millions of people. It's like 3.5 million people down here. They love their cars. We've got a great car culture, just like you do, because of the roads and the weather, and no place to race. And so Homestead Miami Speedway has opened that pit road drag racing I tell you about. 8th mile, 1 lane concrete, the other lane asphalt, just like it's just a strip, man. They're getting 300 cars a night, twice a week, all kinds of people, super diversity, pulling in like 1,000 spectators to just watch street cars bomb down pit road. It's insane. There's obviously a massive demand because they're not even pursuing the clubs, bracket racers. If you got a fast car, you really can't go there because there's no shutdown. Like there's so much demand here, except there is no track. How many places are like that? Like I want to say we need to put in a blue ribbon commission or anything, but there should be some thought about that. The overall health of this thing that we're all part of is directly related to the places where we can race. You know, the guys at Total Seal talking about during the pandemic, right? Like we got to run these engines. We got to use the engines so that they need to buy new rings so that we can make more power so we can go through the cycle. And those are things that, you know, just get me thinking because, man, like I would kill for a really good drag strip in the Miami market. I wouldn't really kill. It's just a figure of speech, folks. And I
get it. I'm sorry, but, you know, the number of times that, you know, I think Denver's a great example. You know, during the pandemic, Bandimere Speedway was shut down. And then there was I'm trying to remember what it is. It's like, whatever, there's a major road. You and I drive it every time because it's between the hotel and the racetrack when we're out there.
Yes.
They literally shut one lane down. I mean, literally just closed off one lane because the street racing was becoming such a problem. And it was a good straight road with walls on both sides. And this was a place where guys could go and race. And they did. And the community's up in arms about, you know, well, this is ridiculous. We're going to have to do something about the street racing program. Here's an idea. Let your racetrack open.
Yes.
You know, I mean, they just want some place to race. And if they have a place to race, the vast majority are going to do that. You know, I know, you know, you look at some of the stuff that you know, some of the laws in California and some of the things that, you know, depending on circumstances, your car can be crushed.
Right.
You know, if you're taking part in one of these, your car can be impounded and crushed. You think those people aren't just give us a place, right? Give us a place where we can go do this. You know, if you want to set the hours, if you want to set the days, if you want to set, you know, the noise restrictions, fine. But give us a place. You know, we don't want to be outlaws. We want to enjoy a legal activity. We just need a place to do it. And, you know, drag strips have provided that for a number of years, and it will continue to provide that for a number of years.
Yeah, and I can tell you, at least when I look at the people that I know that grew up around the drag strip, that they turn into hardworking, tax-paying members of the community. There's a lot of great lessons, even this past weekend, like looking around at the people who are out there and they choose to spend their Saturday. Gates opened at 7 a.m., by the way. Cars on track at 9 a.m. First round was like 1 o'clock. We had a great day. It was a perfect Saturday. And these are all business people and, you know, teachers and instructors. And it was great. So I think we have successfully shed that. Now it's just about the property value and the real estate value and the neighbors not wanting noise. We got to solve that. It's a problem that must be solved down the road if all motorsports, and it's not just related to drag racing, by the way, it's all tracks. So we'll see. All right, I want to move on to a new subject because somebody asked about this a little bit earlier. We were all bothered and upset and saddened to find out that Mike Janis is not going to be racing this year, but he's doing it for his health at the recommendation of his doctor. That story is out there, but someone has filled the seat immediately. J.R. Gray, who hangs with Stevie Fast as a grudge racer, is now going to be jumping into Pro Mod as well. I don't know him. But I have done some research, and he's a big personality and a talker, and he's going to be in a fast car, and he's going to be out there competing against Stevie. Like, that sounds like something very entertaining right off the bat.
Yeah, I agree. And I also don't know him, but I know of him. I know a little bit of his reputation and some of the stuff, and I, welcome. Glad to have him, and bring some friends if you want to. The one thing that I think about this, and you talk about, big personality. He's got some following, and his fans obviously are going to come over here with him. I don't know one single person, and this includes everybody else that's getting their butt kicked for in the last couple of years. I don't know one single person that says, I wish Stevie Fast would have never come NHRA racing.
Right.
Because of what he brings. It's a great competitive car, so that makes the field better. It's a huge personality. It's a lot of eyeballs. It's a lot of his fans from the grudge stuff and from the no prep and from the Radial versus the World and that are now following NHRA. And welcome, one and all. If you can get me 10 more of those guys, I'd like to have every one of them. And so, JR, welcome. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the racetrack in Gainesville, and I will make a point to come by and introduce myself.
Yes. Well, I remember when Stevie came in, we both went through that situation, and look what he has done. And when you ask him about the move, because Stevie was a big, popular guy. He was making a living doing what he was doing before. But now he's a two-time back-to-back pro-modified world champion, and he says flat out, it's the best thing he's ever done, the hardest thing he's ever done, and he loves it. Like, that's what competition at the highest level is all about. And I don't belittle anybody who's racing. It's just, like the NFL. If you like to throw a football, there's a place that you go to prove that you're the best. And next weekend, we're going to have two great quarterbacks battling it out. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady. How about Tom Brady, by the way? Is that insane or what? Again?
Well, I mean, yes, it is. And I am a big Tom Brady fan, but I got to tell you, Tom Brady didn't win that game.
Yeah, no, the coaching staff for the Packers did.
The Patriot defense won that game.
Patriot? Bucks?
I'm sorry, the Buccaneer defense. He's always going to be a Patriot. He'll forever, like Wild Horse will always be Firebird to me. It just always will. But I just, I don't care whose team it is. If I throw 3 straight interceptions and you can't beat me,
yeah,
then I need to buy all of my defensive guys something. A Tesla, something, because they are the ones that won that game. It wasn't the superstar quarterback. It wasn't but it was a wildly entertaining game to watch. And that's kind of what I've turned into now. Is it, there was a time when, boy, my team. And if my team lost, boy, I'd be bummed for a week. And, if my team won, you were going to hear about it from me and I've kind of gotten, I don't know if I'm getting old and soft or don't care anymore, but I just want to see a good game. If I turn the TV on and it's in the second quarter and it's 35-3, I don't care if it's my team that's got 35. I'm not watching the game. It's not fun to watch.
Waste.
And so, that was an entertaining game to watch. I caught most of the highlights and most of the stuff after we got back to the hotel, but it sure looked like a lot of fun. And the Super Bowl, I guess we'll see. Who are you? You going for your home state guys, or are you going with the odds? Because the odds makers think that KC is going to do it again.
I think, first of all, I'm with what you just said before. As a Miami Dolphin fan, Tom Brady spent most of his career whooping our butts because he's a division rival. But you speak about getting soft in old age. What I have learned is that, there used to be the guy that you didn't like or the guy that beat you all the time. It doesn't matter to me anymore. Like, when you are an elite super talent, you earn my respect, right? And so Tom Brady is that guy. Like, wow, he's going to be in 11 Super Bowls in 21 years of playing the NFL. Like, that's crazy. But I think that the Chiefs are going to win the game. I think Patrick Mahomes and that team is just next level, top to bottom. The Bucks have assembled a great cast of characters to make a run at it. It's working. Highly entertaining. I know Bobby Bennett from Competition Plus is super excited for those guys, but they are an in-state rival, Alan, and I think I'm going to go with the Chefs.
Let me ask you this. Who did you think was going to win the Green Bay-Tampa Bay game?
Who did I think was going to win the game? I did an analysis, and I came up with the Packers should have won the game in the analysis that I did. And it was based on a couple of things. One being that the Bucs team kind of recently assembled, Brady, et cetera. 2, cold weather game up there. And 3, they had the home field. I could have never have envisioned, though, 4th and goal and taking the ball out of the hands of Aaron Rodgers. And that's where I think that they lost the game. I think they should have took a shot. They don't score the touchdown there. Then you've got Brady and the Bucks deep in their own territory on defense. Big deal. Instead, they kick the field goal. They give and never get the ball back. So I would call that a strategic blunder by the head coach or whoever made that decision. But in the end, though, Brady's a superstar, and this is what superstars do. He has now won as many NFC championship games as Aaron Rodgers. They have the same amount. One. So
I saw a deal at the beginning of the playoffs, and I guess it'd have to be updated now. But if I got the numbers right, the second most playoff wins by a quarterback in history is 14.
Okay.
That's the second most.
Yes, and here comes the number.
Tom Brady has 30.
Yes, right. Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, I think I'm going to be pulling for the Bucks. I got
the old guy.
The Tom Brady thing certainly, but I also have the personal connection thing, which is a big deal. Rob Gronkowski was an Arizona Wildcat, so I want Gronk to get another ring, just because he was mine before he was yours, kind of thing.
The Gronk, of course, and he's a fun and funny guy, and he's kind of cool. Did some stuff with Jeff Gordon a couple years ago, racing go-karts. If you're a fun and entertaining guy, so I'll just be watching the game. But that's next weekend. We'll have another show to talk a little bit about that. But I will be in Orlando for the start of the season, the 70th anniversary of NHRA drag racing. I'll be at Ozzy's Orlando Speed World for the first Southeastern Division race of the year. And I'll be super excited. It'll be streamed on NHRA.tv as will for free, complimentary. I'm super excited about that. And then I guess I'll wake up Sunday morning and come home and watch the Super Bowl. Alan, any final thoughts, any news that you may know of that we didn't cover? I know people asking about John Force. Everybody asking, what's up with Force? Force is going to announce that when he is ready, and probably won't be long. News like that, like who's Cap's crew chief going to be? DSR says they're going to make a separate announcement. Yes.
I know.
Who?
I can't tell, but I know.
Oh, I think I know too. Well, after we get off the air, we'll... It seems
after we get off the air, they'll announce it. It'll be like 30 seconds. Okay, Joe and Alan are off. Okay, here's new crew chief is.
They're watching right now. That is the joke of the day, except it is true. It is absolutely true.
There's going to be a lot of news coming out over the course of the next couple of weeks. There's a lot of moving pieces, some that have landed and just haven't been announced yet, and some that are being finalized. But no, there's still a lot of stuff that's going to go on. It just seems so weird that, hey, we're going to start. What is it, March 19th? I can't see my calendar from here. But, it's, I should be like bags packed for Pomona by now. And I still got another 5 weeks or so. So, there's plenty of time for all that stuff to come out, but it will. And as always, if anybody wants to shoot me an email, announcer@nhra.com, and I'll do what I can to find an answer for you. And if you want to know more about ring technology.
Yeah, get ready for that. No, I love it. And I was just looking at your Twitter feed a little bit before, and you are the proud Budweiser drinker. They're giving up their Super Bowl spot, but they're donating to charity. That's kind of cool. And
that is cool. I really do think that's cool. And I don't think they're the only ones. There's a couple of other, pretty big players in the field that have opted to, put the money someplace, with all the stuff that's going on in the country and the world right now. They're going to put the money someplace other than just, spending a whole bunch of money to have something in the Super Bowl that's 30 seconds and funny. So I applaud the guys for doing that. And the fact that Budweiser actually retweeted me was kind of...
What? Did that happen? Really? Let me see. Wow. Look at you. You're a Bud man. You should ask for some complimentary beer. But honestly, that's not the one that's most amazing. This relighting a candle using the smoke. That's amazing. What's that all about?
Well, you can follow my Twitter feed and find out. But
I'm looking at it right now. I have your Twitter feed up a lot of times. Like right now, you don't know, but I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at your Twitter feed.
There's a lot of stuff that I follow that's mesmerizing, like the world of engineering and some of that stuff. Like,
Yeah, well, Twitter. The good
being
stuff.
a guy who spends a little time in machine shops and spends a little time around the mechanical things. The tractor that runs at 0 RPM. Did you see that?
No.
You have to look at that.
Yeah, right. 0 RPMs. How does that work? Interesting. Well, you can follow him at NHRA Reinhart, folks. And Alan, great job. Appreciate it. Great way to start off the week. Nice conversation. News coming on strong. Drag racing season on its way. Glad you had a little fun at the racetrack and had a good time at Total Seal. I did as well. Have a good time at the racetrack, that is. And we will see you next week. Thank you so much.
I look forward to it, Joe. You take care.
All right, there he goes. Voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, with us each week right here on WFO Radio. We've been doing this since 2006. 2006, people, back in the XM satellite radio days. That was a big deal. The show was called Power Shift. NASCAR had just moved over to Sirius, and XM was like, oh, what are we going to do? And I was like, what we're going to do is we're going to talk NHRA drag racing is what we're going to do. We're going to talk NHRA drag racing, and we're going to get the leaders from each other motorsport, including IndyCar and Formula One. And we're going to dive into motorsport because as big a deal as NASCAR is in the good old US of A, all these other motorsports are very popular too. And we're going to focus on that. And we're going to use my own driving experience. And it turned into a big thing. It was one of their big shows. And then the merger happened and the rest is history. And here I am, WFO. I don't know. I don't think I would change it. But it was really nice only working 2 hours a day. That was pretty good. I must admit to that. All right, get your final comments into the comments section. Whatever you want to talk about, we're going to knock it out. And I will tell you about a couple of things that I've got going on here. Like I saw one of our listeners said he has received his WFO radio mask and stickers. Gene, thank you, Gene, for ordering a WFO radio mask and stickers. They're just $10 at the website in the WFO store. And, if you watch the news and you're thinking about the numbers, it's probably a good idea to have a whole bunch of these. Might as well rep WFO while you're doing it. The WFO Radio podcast. I was out at the track. A lot of my friends rocking the WFO Radio masks, and it was kind of cool, but really it helps the show a whole lot. And the WFO store, we got a lot of good stuff going on there. Link to the Nitro Fish website, the promo code WFO20, so you can get our 10th anniversary t-shirt. We got new shirts, though. This is just like a basic logo tee. This is the Patreon reward system. The people who support the show, part of the VIP listener club, that is Patreon. Patreon.com/WFO Radio. You can find it on the website. Anybody that supports the show that way, basically signing up and supporting the show, just not expecting anything, but getting something because you do it. They're all getting WFO Radio t-shirts, which is kind of cool. But eventually, they will be available to the rest of the audience on the WFO store and website. We're doing everything we can do, folks. We're doing everything we can do. Yeah, not everything can be a wild shirt, like basic stuff. People like it. Was wondering about that t-shirt, says Monica. Big thanks, of course, to Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. I got to get one of those shirts, though. That was nice. New Hidden Horsepower coming out Thursday morning. John Callies, head of Pontiac Motorsports in the mid-1980s. A lot of great stories and experience. Callies crankshaft, Morel lifters, an engineer, a racer. Good stuff. You're going to love it. The Lynn Haddock episode is going like gangbusters if you haven't heard that one, you podcast listeners out there. But it's all an exercise to let you know about Total Seal and Total Seal Piston Rings and the technology that they have over there. Marvin Rodak, 817-924-6821. RodaksCoffeeandGrills.com. Hot sauces and spice rubs and tools for grilling. Yes. Methods and recipes. Go to the website. Check it out. Call Marvin and get on board with the program. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed. Samtech. Brian Massengill, family over there. Very excited about what they've got going on this year. And, of course, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure. Really appreciate these guys. Frank and Lana, they're aggressive at the start of the season, doing a lot of promoting. Go to the website, frankhawley.com, and do the Dragster Adventure. Definitely. Hit the WFO store, and we've even got a spot where we'll send out some free stickers. All right, so I did a video from my weekend of drag racing, and I thought about what is the best way to debut it. Like I documented the whole day. 4 runs down the track, plus my friend who was running in Super Pro, and it turned out to be about a 27-minute video. So I'm not going to play it right here. I thought about it. We're going to put it up on YouTube. It's going to be one of those things that gets you to go to the YouTube channel. YouTube.com, WFO Radio TV is our YouTube channel, WFO Radio TV. You can get there from the website. Subscribe, click the bell. But it's a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoy it. You see the run against the Tesla. There's a run against the ZL1 Camaro, right on the starting line. Good stuff. It's designed to entice you to want to go bracket racing in your street car. We were talking a lot about racetracks. Racetracks need customers. Not all customers can build a grudge car or like have the money to spend. There are a lot of people that come in there, and there can be a lot of people that come in there that are doing it just for the fun of it. And this past weekend, there were a lot of people just like me. 2005 GTO, going to go out there and run it down the track and have fun with my friends. Is it slow? Is it fast? Do I win? Do I lose? That's not really the primary reason I'm there. The primary reason I was there was to see my friends, support, learn something from someone, watch competition, all of that. But racing in the street class, and there's the Tesla, there's a Toyota RAV4, SUVs, GMC Denali's, street cars. Make it your plan this year to support your local track with something basic, just your street car. And as much as, I take stances here occasionally on the show, I'm typically non-controversial, but this huge segue towards big money bracket racing with all these $1 million races and triple tens in Orlando, that's great. It's great. But you've got to go in the other direction as well. If you're going to build out, you got to go in the other direction as well. There needs to be low dollar bracket racing just as much as there's big money bracket racing. And yeah, you're going to get these guys $2,000 for an entry, and they're going to come in and they're going to spend their money, and it's going to be great. But you don't take a guy who's a plumber, who's interested in cars, and in one day get him to spend $30,000 on a race car and go spend a $2,000 entry or $500 entry fee. Like, that doesn't happen. And it's not going to happen. If you want to really grow the thing, what about the other side? How do you take these guys that are going test and tune down the racetrack? How do you convince them that putting a dial in on the car is fun? Well, you got to offer it. Street cars only. It was a $30 entry fee with a $20 buyback. We ran to the quarter mile. It was fun, but also extremely low commitment. I could turn on my air conditioner in between rounds and get out of the heat. But that's what gets people connected. Like, I feel I just went racing and I feel I want to go racing again. Whereas once you lose that feeling, it's easy to not go racing. It has to be accessible. And that means for people who are middle range of the income bracket to go enter and spend $500 and all that, I got to get my equipment absolutely right. Well, I'm working on it. But is there something I can do in the meantime? There has to be that. And I'm not saying that tracks they don't have that. But it's certainly not being promoted. It's not being championed to encourage someone who hasn't done it or has never been there or hasn't done it in a long time to go do it and get reactivated. And then maybe they learn that they really love it and they go buy a race car that's sitting in a garage and they go out and then, in a couple of years, they're the ones spending the $500 entry fee. That's how it works. A lot of emphasis has been put on the highest end of the scale, which is great. I'm all for it. Some more emphasis needs to be put on the other end. And I remember being at Miami Hollywood Speedway and watching sportsmen roll out and the ramp trucks, right? Everybody had a ramp truck. That's when I got started. You know how old I am, is that ramp trucks were a thing. And the ramp trucks would roll out, dialed 18 seconds and 17 seconds, and they're bracket racing. I couldn't get it. What's going on? It doesn't have to be fast to be fun. but fast is also cool. All right, let's see what the final comments are. Final comments in the comment section here, guys. Let's see. Is Smoke going drag racing? Smoke has already gone drag racing. He's gone through two different cars in the Frank Hawley class, frankhawley.com, and they have put out a video documenting his time there. Is he going to do something else additional? We don't know. I think that based on the story that we read, there's a great story about Smoke, Jenna Fryer. We talked about it on the Ignition show where I referenced the disagreement with NASCAR that we talked about with Alan a little bit earlier. This guy's got a lot on his plate. He's a busy guy. Does he want to undertake something else? I don't know, but I would definitely and plan to encourage it just so he can join that exclusive club. Guys like, John Andretti, who have gone out there and raced at the U.S. Nationals. And he can also get in and compete at a high level. I think he could maybe find the time to do that. He's got a lot of stuff. They got that new racing series that's going to be on Saturday night. What is that, CBS? Let's see. Mark Watkins says, you're absolutely correct, sir. Low bucket bracket racing is where you learn. It's where you learn and build confidence. Basically, we've got a sport where everything is focused at the highest level, and there is very little effort to emphasize the first or second rung of the ladder. You got to be able to jump up to the fourth step of the ladder. And that's not good business, at least not according to me. Guys going down the track, you'll do something about, go to your local track. That's hard to get somebody to do at all. Just to go to the track and race their car. People are scared. But once they've done that and they've made 3 runs or 4 runs or 5 runs or 10 runs, well, you've got a couple of choices now. You can go start buying go fast parts and try to go faster, which is good. We want that. Or you could start putting a dial in on the car and refine your program, refine your technique. We should be encouraging both. And I think only one is being encouraged. Streetcar bracket racing, man. Let's do it. You got the fever. Not quite, but yeah. And I couldn't get the fever anyway. And we shouldn't be talking about fevers nowadays, if you know what I mean. I just don't have the available time. If it's available, and I love the 7 a.m. gates open, by the way. I love that. 7 a.m. gates open. Final round was 5 o'clock. People home at a normal time. If you can do it. I loved it. Mark Watkins, Super Pro race cost me $110 for my car and 2 crew. Would love to see a weekly $30 bracket race at my track. Yeah, but they will tell you, well, then we can't make any money. And I understand that, but there has to be a low-cost option to get people involved. Otherwise, people won't get involved. There has to be a low-cost option, low cost of entry. There has to be. So how about, a much lower payout? The payouts are through the roof. It's $1 million. And 2 guys get that. And then they split it up back to 16 cars. See, I would run the whole thing differently, but I don't want to tell you about that. Monica, you got to start somewhere. Well, I look at myself as an example and all the people that I know and as an example. And I also think that there are very few people that just decide I'm going to drop 50 grand on a racing operation. Now, Jerron Settles is one. 7 a.m. start time. That's hard for a custom painter. No. Gates open at 7 a.m. Track hot at 9. You can handle that, custom painter. You can handle that. First round of round 1. And normally they try to run 2 races in a day. Low cost option, fixed payout, lower entry. And I'm not saying that everything needs to be that way, but that should exist. Simple as that. It should exist. All right, one more thing. Snake's book. I'm done with it. I finished it. It's over. I'm a little sad that it's over. This thing was great. It wasn't good. It was great. There's a lot of interesting stuff. It makes me feel very sad. Well, not sad necessarily, But when we had Snake on, and it's in the archive, and he answered a bunch of great questions, but they were kind of generic because I hadn't read the book. I didn't have the book in my hand at that time. Now that I've read it, I have 1,000 more questions. Now, we'll have him on again at some point in the future, but a guy like Snake, get the book. You can get it in the WFO store. We got a link to the Amazon deal. You just click on it. The new Warren Johnson book coming out in April is also there. But so many revelations about this man that is a hero to all of us. And that's kind of the weird thing about drag racing, is that our heroes, that these characters, where is this? Oh man, my Pepsi Challenger car is gone. Snake was larger than life, a hero, except now he's a guy that we know. And he lays it out that he was an insecure young person who was just trying to find his way in the world. And he caught some breaks and some things went his way. And then he started to make it. And making it drove him to like this maniacal intensity. And they talk about in there, like there's a lot of people with opinions in here about, what he was like. And he acknowledges that he was probably difficult to be around, but he was just so driven. He had only one way to go, down, and getting away from the track a little bit was helpful. Just so insightful. But to me, the best part, honestly, was the revelations about his confusion about his race in California. For all intents and purposes, while in California, he was a white person. And when he was in the South, he was a black person, except he didn't know it. And all his life, people would make references that he didn't understand. Why are you doing that to me? Like, what do you mean? Like, how difficult must that have been? Except what he did was just forge forward and be successful and kick ass and become Don the Snake Prudhomme. One of our greatest heroes. Talks about Garlits, talks about everything. I'm telling you, I don't read, this is going to sound horrible. I don't read a lot of books. It sounds horrible. I read the net. I read a lot of magazines. I read a lot of articles. I realize very infrequent that I pick up a book like this. Very infrequent. Picked up this one. It's freaking great if you like drag racing. Like I start out all the time. If you like drag racing, you will learn a lot. And the Billy Meyer story. And I'm not going to tell you what is the Billy Meyer story and all the Garlits stories and the talking about Garlits and the way Garlits approach things and all of that stuff. So now that I'm done, and I'm planning on writing a little bit of a review, but this is the way I handle stuff. I just told you my review. It's great. And there you go. WFO is over for today, folks. I'm going to go figure out how to get this 27-minute video up on our YouTube and then blast it out there, and hopefully you enjoy it. If you want to see an LS2 Pontiac GTO go toe-to-toe with a little electric car. Oh, we got more comments. Let's see. Monica, still have to start the book. Yeah, get on it. Easy reading. Nice to have Milam Dragway back. Yes, especially up there. Jim Norris. There was just $30,000 to win slot car race last weekend. Apex Raceway Hobbies in Tennessee. That's kind of cool. I've done the slot car bracket racing thing. Just announced on Facebook, Mike Salinas and the Scrappers team will be back at Gainesville. Hey, thank you, Steve Brenwald from Brenwald Media, for breaking us a little news. Thank goodness. We have Test and Tune at Famosa Bakersfield. No racing. Car and crew. $300 for 2 days. Limited to 100 cars. That's all we have here. March meet has been moved to the end of May. Listen whenever I can. Keep it up. Don't know who that is, but thank you. March meet to the end of May, huh? That makes sense. I'm afraid once I start reading it, my kiddo is going to take it away from me. Just start. I grew up during his dragster days. Race never, ever entered the discussion. He was only discussed as a badass. Yeah, race never, ever entered the discussion. I guess, among us, the fans and admirers. Behind the scenes, it entered. There were a couple of examples in the book that rocked me. Yeah, it's not a fluff book, folks. Serious stuff. All right, thank you very much for watching and viewing. Remember, WFO Radio is a podcast. Subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud. Just go to our website, WFOradio.com. You'll find it all. Thanks to Alan. We'll see you next time. Remember, tomorrow, Megan Meyer-Linger going to be on the show, The Champ. And then Thursday, Doug Coletta, and maybe Rahn Tobler on Friday. We'll see. WFO.